thank you for agreeing to do this interview for Northwest Women in STEM. It's a great opportunity to sort of highlight and showcase what some of the members and some of the women within our group do within their day-to-day lives. So I kind of wanted to just interview you and just get your thoughts on, your career, what's led you here, what you're currently doing, and also what you're hoping to do.
I'm Rabaab. We're currently in the AV Hill building at the University of Manchester, and currently I'm doing my 1 week work experience. I've been shadowing within the labs, watching different techniques. I've done my bachelor's in biomed at Liverpool John Moores. I'll be doing my master's at the University of Manchester in clinical biochem and hope to become a clinical biochemist in the future.
What made you want to do a biomedical degree?
So initially, the first round of the UCAS applications I actually applied for medicine.
Okay, so you originally wanted to do medicine.
Yeah, but then during my A levels, I did struggle a bit in the first year.
Yeah.
It was to the point where I actually wasn't quite happy. So my UCAS applications for medicine had already went through.
Yeah.
And then when I actually submitted them applications, I realised, right, I don't want to do medicine because it's obviously really hard and you have years of study. And I was like, if I can't cope with A levels, I don't know if I'd be able to do medicine. But I didn't actually stick to my A levels, I didn't drop them. But then I didn't get any offers for medicine, so I didn't want to take a gap year. I was like, okay, I'll do research and try to find another course that has similar modules or similar aspects of medicine within the course, but obviously not medicine itself. So then I came across biomed. I was talking to tutors, they were like, biomed would be a good option. Like, obviously it's not medicine, but there's like similarities, so I went with biomed.
Would you say you've always been gravitated towards healthcare and life sciences?
Yeah, as a kid, my dream job was to be a vet. So
Okay.
from primary school, it was up until I'd say end of high school, it was a vet.
Yeah.
And then from high school to around college time, it was a surgeon.
Yeah.
But then I wanted to change and actually become more a scientist and lab work. So then I went with biomed in the end.
Excellent. When you were researching universities, because you said you picked Liverpool John Moores over the University of Liverpool, what influenced that decision?
After doing research, John Moores was actually IBMS accredited, whilst the Uni of Liverpool wasn't. From my understanding, with an IBMS accredited course, you can go into labs and start working in labs. Whilst if the course isn't accredited, you will struggle a bit as you don't have the license to work within the labs.
Yeah. Why would you need an IBMS accredited degree?
The difference would be, I think, without the accredited degree, it's more on the research side, whilst if it's accredited, it's more, you can be more hands-on and practical, I think.
Yeah. And you can also work in the hospital labs.
Yeah.
with the IBMS accredited degree. What brought you to the University of Manchester, and why did you want to gain this work experience?
So I was initially looking for work experience and trying to find that lab experience, as I don't have any previous lab experience outside of the university. So I went to the Women in STEM event, the networking event in Liverpool, met yourself and Amanda did offer me a week experience at the University of Manchester. Currently, right now, what I've been watching is her doing histology, so the sectioning today, but embedding and the waxing. And I feel like, obviously, working in the NHS labs, I would like that lab experience outside of uni and try to build up my CV as much as I can and help myself out in the future.
And what are some of the things that you've learned or observed whilst doing your lab work experience here at the University of Manchester?
On Monday, we looked at the microtome. You have the samples and you put them into hot wax. waxing, embedding it, you solidify it, and then the microtome has like a sharp blade which you start when you do start sectioning, cutting it, it's easier to get into. So that's what we watched on Monday, and then eventually following the processes you can stain it and then view it under the microscope. So I feel like the whole week's been based on that, and that's obviously helped my experience because at the university we didn't have a microtome, so we actually didn't see the individual steps from the beginning. It was more the sample was already on the slide, so we just looked at that under the microscope. But here I've actually seen the parts I've never seen before, so the whole microtome and the whole waxing session and cutting into the actual sample whilst it's still within the wax and solidified.
So in histology, what type of samples do you embed, and then what are you looking for at the end?
Yesterday we were looking at a lung sample, and under the microscope, so after the whole sectioning, embedding, staining, that was all done. So we had the slide and we were looking at that under the microscope. You could see the air sacs in the alveoli, so that was presented as like holes, and then we could see the vessels and everything. So if there was an infection or a patient with lung disease, you'd be able to see. We looked at DAPI staining, so I think that showed up as blue.
Yeah.
And it highlighted all the vessels. So when the patient is infected, it will show up as in the vessels. You'll be able to see it under the microscope, which will help out in the labs and the hospitals.
Yeah. What do you want to do after this? What are you hoping to achieve after your work experience?
So I'm hoping after the work experience to actually apply and get on to the course.
And what course do you want to
clinical biochem in masters, and I'm hoping to also apply to the STP program, which opens up in January, and that's basically the scientific training program where you also study, I think it's an extended masters, so you study and work as a trainee within a lab and get, I think, 3 years of clinical experience within the lab and a master's, and then at the end of it, at the end of 3 years, hopefully become a clinical biochemist working within the NHS labs.
On your clinical biochemistry, what made you want to apply for the clinical biochemistry masters at the University of Manchester?
So during my undergrad in second year, I had a module that was clinical biochemistry, and whilst studying that, I found that majority lectures really interesting. And then our assignment was to do with kidneys, so we had a scenario where the patient had chronic kidney disease, and we had to, whilst looking at all the biomarkers, we had to figure out which directly affected his kidneys and which were elevated and caused him to feel the way he did, that all the symptoms, and which directly caused each symptoms and why he felt like that. So researching all of that, I found it really interesting because I really liked this topic. I was also interested in haematology too, but clinical biochem was, I'd say, slightly more interesting. And then a year later, my granddad had actually got chronic kidney disease.
Okay.
So whilst the doctors are actually explaining to my family and himself why he is the way he is and what's caused that, I was actually like, oh, I understand this and I know why. And I found that really interesting because then I was like explaining to my sisters exactly what's happened, why it happened, and how they figured out what caused his CDK and what elevated it, which I found really interesting because I knew quite a lot on the topic. And then it made me realise, oh, I may as well pursue clinical biochem. I really like it. I'm really interested in it, and especially like the kidney and the liver side of it.
So your undergraduate degree in biochemistry actually gave you that sort of scientific background and knowledge of biochemistry to understand then what your granddad was going through in terms of his
Yeah.
kidney disease. It's quite a personal motivation to want to go and continue working in and studying biochemistry. I know you're starting at the University of Manchester in September on your clinical biochemistry masters. What are some of the topics that you're looking forward to studying, and what's been covered, and what are you most excited about?
There's the endocrine and then the diabetes module that sounds really interesting, and then the research project too, so that's another one I'm looking forward to. But I'd say the endocrine and the diabetes section I've not personally done, and that wasn't covered in my undergrad, so I'm really excited for that one in particular.
So you're graduating this week as well from Liverpool John Moores. Tell me a little bit about your graduation and who's going to be there with you. What day is it?
Well, it's on Tuesday. I think first of all we're all going to have to wake up at like 6 in the morning, which will be interesting. But entire family is coming, so there's going to be like 20 odd of us. But I think in the actual ceremony I can only take 3 people, so that would be my mum, dad, and one of my sisters.
Oh, lovely.
But my entire family is going to be there.
Yeah.
And I think we're just going to go out to eat after.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's an amazing achievement to have your graduation. And just in terms of, you mentioned your family that are going to be there at your graduation. For women in STEM, it can be quite challenging, especially to go down careers that are, non-traditional or very, predominantly done by men. Would you say you face any challenges as a woman in STEM?
Yeah, so not so much, but me wanting to switch from medicine to biomedicine, my mum was like, no. She was like, you have to do medicine, stick with medicine, try it. But I was like, don't want to, because I feel like for me, especially with my background, they want majority kids, they want their children to pursue law, medicine, engineering, but I was like, I want to actually do lab work and become a scientist. But once I explained it to them, they're like, you know what, it's a good career, and if medicine's not for you, it's not for you. Just do what makes you happy.
So your family had expectations of you to do medicine. With coming from an Asian background myself, I completely understand. A lot of parents only want you to study the top 3, which is, to be a doctor, lawyer, or pharmacist. So did you have a role model? Was there a teacher or a role model, someone who you would say positively impacted, or had, if you think back, was there anyone that kind of swayed your decision and gave you that sort of representation of a woman doing medicine, or a woman in STEM?
The role model in primary school and high school was my mum, but she had nothing to do with the medicine side and all that. And I did want to be a vet when I was younger, and I'd say my inspiration for that was, it's a bit funny, but like watching cartoons and just seeing the vets, and then actually I got a cat when I was really young too, I think, and then visiting the vets and then watching the vets, look at my cat, check him out when he was sick, and I was like, okay, this is really interesting. Like, I always had the dream when I was a kid. I was like, yeah, I want to be a vet, and then actually seeing the vets do their jobs, that's really interesting, and I love animals, and I'd want to work with them. So I think me actually visiting the vets was like, right, this is for me, this is what I want to do.
Did you see any female vets, or were they male vets?
Yeah, so the vet I went to, there were female vets, which I was like, oh, every time I've heard someone talk about medicine, surgery, vets, it was mainly for males, because I'd speak to a few in college, high school, but there were males. But when I actually went into the vets, seeing the females do it all, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I've actually seen a lot of females starting to rise up and dominate the vet side of everything.
Did you have any sort of inspirational biology or chemistry or physics teachers that, I don't know, kind of pushed you along or motivated you, or, you know, didn't, you know?
I'd say in A levels, my second year biology teacher was amazing. She was a mom. Had I think she had 3 or 4 kids. And she also had one of her youngest ones was like recently born too. And she was like part-time biologist teacher. And on top of that, being a mother too, which I found really interesting. And don't know how she was balancing her life, the work life, and then her home life.
Yeah.
And she did help me a lot with the whole biomed and what I wanted to do later on at uni. She was definitely one of the teachers I'd speak to, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my career. And it was interesting speaking to her because she's also like a family friend too. So watching her and speaking to her about how she balanced everything out and how her parents supported her was really interesting too.
What advice would you give to, for example, an A-level student who wants to go into a life science biomedical degree, but they're not sure? What advice would you give them to do, like in terms of, you know, would it be research, work experience?
I'd say for an A-level student, definitely research beforehand. You want to know what you will be studying, you want to know the modules, and to definitely check if you're interested in it beforehand, and to do the research. So if you are going to do biomed, you essentially want to make sure it is RBMS accredited, as it gives you more options. It'll let you go work into the labs, whilst if you choose a random biomed course and it's not RBMS accredited and you want to do the lab work, you will struggle a bit. I think you'll have to do extra training and studying to get that accreditation. So for biomed especially, definitely do the research, do the work experience during the summer. Definitely try to get internships, as they'll help a lot, and just ask for research technician shadowing experience alongside your studies to help you in the future if you do want to work in like NHS labs or any other labs especially.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Rabaab.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best. I hope you have a lovely graduation day. And I wish you all the best for your Masters in Clinical Biochemistry.
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure I will bump into you in some lab somewhere.
Thank you.
Thank you.